All right, let's tie up some rigs. It's gonna be a Porgy rig. This is a HiLo. It's gonna be able to have a lead weight at the bottom. This one's a 10 ounce. It's too big. But anyway. All right. I'm doing this one with 15-pound mono. For the most part, this tends to be about the size that I'm using for Porgies. I could go up to about 30-pound. All right, so we don't have to go crazy thinking about this. This just happens to be what I have on hand. Now, what am I gonna do? I'm 6 foot tall, so I'm gonna do about an arm's length. I'm gonna give myself plenty of room to work with here. 6 foot of line. All right, I'm gonna take it off the spool. Take it off the spool so I can manage it. Now, line has a monofilament line, nylon line has a memory to it. I wanna remove that memory. Now, I don't wanna cut and slice through my hand, but I wanna pull tight, and I can feel a little bit of heat. And that little heat is gonna pull the memory out of this line, making it, look at that. That end's been pulled, this end hasn't. So, all right, this is called taking the memory out of the line so that it's a little easier to work with. You do that right all the way to the end. What am I doing? I'm taking that, kind of holding it in my thumb, all right, whatever, and I'm just giving it pressure. Now I can feel the heat kind of building up on my thumb. I'm not like that. That's where you get like a little line burn, all right? So really, doing that once is gonna be fine enough. All right. Now, I always tend to start with this from the top of the rod down. And what am I going to start with? I'm going to start with a barrel swivel. This is a number 4 stainless steel barrel swivel. I don't worry about the pound. These are Porgies. I'm not worried about the pound testage or anything. I just want something big enough that I can take my angler clip that's at the end of my braided line on my reel and clip it right to the rig. There's lots of different knots that you can do to attach line to metal stuff like hooks and snaps and barrel swivels. I personally like the uni knot. Other people make better videos about uni knots. I'm going to tell you the uni knot. I'm just going to show you. I pull it out, I give it a loop, I hold the loop with my fingers, and I just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is what I would normally do. Since this is a smaller diameter line, I'm just going to give it a 6th wrap around, wet it with a little bit of spit, like there, and then I'm going to pull tight on the tag end, pull tight on the main line. That knot is going to slide on down and be tight. So that last one, we tend to want to, with a lot of the knots that are done with monofilament, you tend to want to do that like last slide with lubrication, water, spit, whatever, it's fine. And you want to give it a tight pull, and that kind of, it melts a little bit. It welds that knot. I'm coming in tight. I'm going to take my scissors, trim off my tag end, because I'm not a psychopath. All right, not going to leave that tag end there. Now, so I just lost some length of that. Okay, all right, still pretty long. Okay, now, somewhere along the line down here, I'll be honest, I haven't even practiced. I haven't been making these. Okay, I want a dropper loop. However long apart this is, when I bend it over like that, I'm going to lose some of this length when I tie the knot, when I tie the T knot here. But so I want you to see, I'm kind of pulling, that's like, this is a ruler. I'm taking, it's a little more than a foot. So that's like 14, 15 inches or so. That's me eyeballing it. I'm going to double it over. All right. I'm going to pinch right there, pinch there. Now here's the wonderful part. You don't have to go crazy with this. All I'm going to do is take my fingers and flip them up and over and up and over. And I'm going to be flipping these lines up and over each other 10 times. All right, so I'm just gonna do this, and now I put my finger in the middle, give it a twist, put my finger in the middle, twist, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, who cares? All right, now I've got a hole there that I've been using, and I've been twisting. I got twist on one side, I got twist on the other side, buried in my hand. See, this is a 2-hand operation. Look at what all those fingers are doing. All right, this is where I use my mouth, and I take this part here, that I haven't been doing anything with, and I pull it through the loop towards me. I tuck it in one of my teeth. I don't want to damage it. Tuck it in my tooth, and then I let go. Whoa, I lost stuff. And then I'm just going to pull side to side. Look at that. Beautiful T-knot. All right. Now that took me some time to do, and I want you to see the knot. You know, by me pulling 15 inches out there and everything, when the knot sees down, I only got a 3-inch dropper there. That's telling me that when I do this for the next one, I got to go a little bit bigger. At 3 inches, I tend to like these to be about, 5-6 inches long here. So now I've got a dropper loop. I'm not going to do anything with that yet. I'm not going to put a hook on because I got to still tie more knots. Okay, so now I'm looking at this end. I'm going to ignore this, but I'm just going to go like maybe an inch down. I'm going to pull way far. All right, here's the thing. Wherever like the center of that is roughly where it's going to be. So I want that to be about a little more than 12 inches down the line. I want it to be a bit down the line, but I still want a tag end that is big enough that I can tie a dropper. All right, anyway, let's go. This is not, you gotta have to eyeball it. Let's see what I get when I do this big old loop. And I'm gonna count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hold that open, pull this through. There we go, that's more like it. Look at that dropper loop. Again, eyeball it. It's about 5, 6, yeah, that one's 7 inches long. All right, great. Now, what do I have? I have a high, and a low. Now, these are pretty close. All right, these are pretty close. They're about like 9 inches apart. I tend to want a foot or foot and a half apart. All right, so this one's a little bit of a fail. All right, will it fish? Yeah, it'll fish. All right, here's what I'm gonna do, is that sometimes I take one of these, like these little hoochie squids here, you nip off the tip of it, and then you've got a hole. And you load that on first, all right? So you got the dropper loop, you're gonna push that on through the hole, you're gonna load that through. And load it until you see it come out the other end. Right there, right there. There you go. All right, I got enough. I have enough distance here where I can load on a hook. All right, now this is a Porgy rig, so I'm sizing the hook. This is a size 1/0 or 1/0. It's an Eagle Claw, laser sharp, right off Walmart. I tend to like the Gamakatsu bait holder hooks, but this one's got a nice big eye for me to put that through, and then put this up and over the hook, and then pull this, and I want that loop to cinch down right nice and neat there, and then this can slide on down. Now, with this size of a little teaser thing that and I'm gonna bait this with clam or whatever for Porgies, a little bit of squid, a little bit of clam, whatever. That's gonna be fine. This is not gonna slide on down over the hook. The hook eye is big enough. You'll see with the bigger squid and everything, where the hole might be a little bit bigger and everything, I'm gonna load a bead on too to stop that squid from going all the way and falling down off the hook shank. So that's one of the 2 hooks. Now that bigger hook at the bottom. All right, let's see, and mix it up. Let's take a little hand-tied bucktail, same size hook, same eye and all. And this one, that bucktail's just gonna flutter through the water. I'm gonna bait it and everything, just like I would the other one. And now I've got 2 options floating around. I got 2 different colors, 2 different textures. I'll be honest, I tie a whole bunch of these. All right, they're super easy. You get a little bit of bucktail, a little bit of thread, you tie it on, you put some Sally Hansen's hard as nails nail polish on that head to keep the wraps on there, and you're golden. Now, this rig is almost done. I got the barrel swivel again up at the top, my high, my low. I wish that they were a little further apart. All right. Now I'm gonna add a dropper loop at the bottom, just out of monofilament, just taking this, doubling it over. So I doubled it over, and all I'm gonna do is do what's called a surgeon's loop, which is basically, it's an overhand knot. And you just go through twice. This is called a double surgeon's loop. If you do it 3 times, it's called a triple surgeon's loop. Now, the T-knots that we made, so I pull that tight. Now I got a tag end. Again, I'm not a psychopath. I'm gonna cut that tag end out so it's a nice and clean thing that I can attach and put through my we got a 10-ounce bank sinker. In the depths where I'm fishing for porgies, usually starting with a 4, maybe a 6, but we got some current. Anyway, got that dropper loop, boom. Now this is gonna be tapping along on the bottom. This is gonna be swimming behind. These T-knots are strong, all right? So when a fish holds onto that, it's not gonna snap at that knot. However, if this this is a weak knot that we did here, and this is intentional that we're using a weak knot at the end. If this gets hung up in between some boulders, and it, you know, it is more likely that that knot will fail and break, and we'll keep the other components of our rig. We'll lose the lead, and we'll have to start, hook on another rig and go. Or I take that bottom one off, and now that's my dropper, and I'm fishing with a single hook. You could do that. There are plenty of times where that's exactly what I did. 10 minutes there going over making a simple high-low rig for Porgies. And you're also hearing me critique it about what I would like. I would like that one, that's the chartreuse, to be a little bit longer, and I'd like these to be spaced out a little farther apart. What I like is I like that I could be able to take these two and hook them together, and that distance would be shorter than this distance here, meaning I could hook them together and they'd stay taut and tight. As they are now, they don't stay taut and tight, so I can't really, for safety's sake, I can't really hook them together and then travel with them nice and tight. That's what I would want. That's why I would want this distance to be a little longer. It's kind of a safety thing. I guess I could also get that by having this. Now, let's say you don't want to do a loop here. You could also, remember this is doubled over when you did that T-knot, when I did that T-knot there. I could snip one end off. And so this one here, I could snip one end off, and now I double its length, and I could tie knots. I could tie a knot direct to the hook rather than doing the little dropper loops that I'm doing. I like the dropper loops because if a hook happens to get bent out or a teaser's starting looking ugly, I can swap it out, or I could save it for another day. I literally keep a bin, a little bucket of old rigs that are rinsed off, salt's off of them and everything. There's no bait on them. And then I go through and I easily slip off each one, and I redo rigs. That's where this one came from. Both of these came from old rigs, and I'm just recycling these. They didn't get lost in the ocean. All right, 12 minutes. We'll keep it there. All right. Next video, another video is going to be for same thing, high-low rig, but for sea bass, and how I just changed that one. This one, 15, 20, 30-pound mono, somewhere in that range. I did it with 15 light rig, small 1/0 sized hooks are going to be fine enough. Those are the details that we want to remember for making a rig for a type of fish, is that we're scaling it.